Hey, everybody in Facebook land. Good to see everybody. We're going to let this season for a quick second. Eric, we're going to get everybody in here. How are you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We had a lot of rain last night, and today it's going to be like 60 degrees. So I think this is it. I think spring is here.
Yeah, it in Ohio, it's still fighting itself, so it always thaws out later here. But we're hopeful that that's coming.
When do you guys like typically get a good spring going?
Yeah, I mean, really by the end of March, by the 1st of April is when you'll finally start to feel it. We get little teasers now and again here through the month of March where you'll kind of get like a warm day, but then it could snow again the next day. So it's it plays with you.
Okay, interesting. Very cool. Well, okay, awesome. I think we've got a couple people in here now. It looks like we're live. We're in all the groups and everything going. So thank you guys for joining us. If you don't know me, my name is Tyler Coon. I'm the CEO and founder of Savvy STR Agents, a nationwide real estate team that specializes in short-term rental buyers and sellers. So if you're looking for a short-term rental this year, or you need to sell one of your short-term rentals, we offer a couple different services. The first one being a market match service. So a lot of people don't know, what markets should I go to? What markets are interesting right now? Hocking Hills and talking to Eric is definitely one of them. But if you want to hear about a couple more, go to www.savvy.realty/market match. Or if you have a bunch of short-term rentals or even one right now and you're wondering, should I list this property? What is my return on equity? We'll do a free equity analysis with you to figure out how much equity you have in the property, and if you took that equity and redeployed it somewhere else, would you make more or less than you're currently netting on your short-term rentals? So we offer both those services for both buyers and sellers. If you're having any trouble getting a hold of us, do the easy thing and send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll get right back to you. Today, I'm here with Eric Edwards, who is our Hocking Hills, Ohio expert for short-term rentals. Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you've got going on, and a little bit about your area.
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for having me. Great to be here with everyone that's interested in short-term rentals, specifically if you're looking into the Hocking Hills, Southeast Ohio area. So I'm born and raised from this area and grew up here and was kind of a witness of watching the Hocking Hills develop really into a tourism center that it never was when I was growing up. So when we were growing up, it was very low key. We always had the trails and the hiking, the things that it's still known for today, but it wasn't this massive push of people wanting to come and experience the Hocking Hills. That all kind of happened kind of over the development as I grew up, and I got to watch it happen. And so when I was after I graduated college, was interested in real estate, got started with bigger pockets, probably like a lot of people did, and was working a job I didn't like at a place with no windows in it. It was really depressing, and was there and started listening to bigger pockets back in probably like 2015. And that was kind of my entryway into this whole concept of real estate, investing, financial independence, all of that kind of spawned out of that. And so 2015, my wife and I, we got started buying foreclosures. So we did a couple flips, live-in flips. We didn't realize that's what we were doing, but that's what at the time bought really nasty places with had to have roll off dumpsters brought in and just really disgusting. But we did it, and it helped to build up our equity. So then we were able to buy our first short-term rental in 2019. And so we bought our first short term in 2019, and then we bought our second one. Both of these are in the Hocking Hills in 2021. 2018, I got my real estate license, and the broker that I joined at the time, she was a local broker from the area, and she kind of by default specifically worked with investors. And so that was really kind of an eye opening experience of getting to work with people that really looked at real estate as a business and kind of got to learn a lot of the ropes while working with her. And in 2018, started working with investors, started helping people buy and sell established short-term rentals in the area.
That's really cool. And so you grew up in the area then?
Yeah, yeah.
You're like a true local.
I'm a true local. All of my family is there. We've been there for generations. It goes back to my great grandfather. He moved to Rockbridge all of those years ago, and my whole family has been there ever since.
That's really, really cool. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So in terms of like a local expert, is there anybody that knows more than you
No,
in short-term rentals in the area?
no. And it's a real small community. And that's what I think people maybe from the outside don't realize is that it's really run kind of by an inner circle of the local people, especially with like your vendors, with handymen, any of that kind of stuff. You're not going to find these people on Google. You have to know them, or you have to get their phone number from someone. We still use cards, there where people will give you their business card.
Yeah.
That's still kind of the nature of the place. It's still a very small town, close knit environment where you've got to know these people. You're not going to find them. They don't have a Facebook page. They don't have a Google account. So you've got to have the connections with them, and so that's where, having been there from my family, they all have businesses. We've all been very entrepreneurial in different areas, and so we have a lot of the networking connections that is really difficult to find if you're not from there.
That's amazing. Okay. So tell us a little bit about short-term rentals in the area.
Yeah, so I've got if we want to hop over, I prepared a little bit of information, and then we can go from there however you want.
Cool.
Let
Let
me
me get
hop
these
over.
slides coming up. There we go.
Okay, so let me hop over here. And if I do this, is that better?
Perfect.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the hidden gems of the Hocking Hills. So Ohio is considered the heartland of the country. I consider Hocking County, the heart of Ohio. And so here's where a lot of people, when they reach out to me about Logan, about the Hocking Hills, this is why they're reaching out to me, because of this page that they'll find on AirDNA when they land there. So when you pull this up, you're going to see right here, Logan is ranked number 3 on AirDNA. It hits all kind of lists. It gets talked about on some podcasts. And so when people are reaching out that have no knowledge about anything, oftentimes this is why they're calling me, is because when they log into AirDNA, they see the amazing AirDNA report. They see the revenue, occupancy, and the daily rates, and it compares with some of these heavy hitters. But it's a relatively small market. Just recently, just a few days ago, Bigger Pockets even came out with another list of the best Airbnb markets to invest in 2025. And once again, Logan makes the list. Now, I have a little bit of discrepancy with some of their numbers here, but the fact is that it still is an amazing market at the price point for the revenue that it generates. Now,
Mhm.
let's cover something real quick. The Hocking Hills is not an actual city. The Hocking Hills is a term that describes the region. And so whenever you're looking, that's why it pops up as Logan on AirDNA, because that is the county seat. That's the biggest city within Hocking County. And so
Okay.
there's roughly like 6 submarkets that kind of make up the term of the Hocking Hills. So you've got Logan, Rockbridge, New Plymouth, MacArthur, which actually is in Benton County, and then Nelsonville, which is actually in Athens County, and then New Straitsville. And then a couple other like sub-markets to the sub-markets are these little villages that I really like. Laurelville is super cute. It's got an amazing little orchard there, Creola. And then South Bloomingville is a really great area to be, super close to all of the Hocking Hills State Park attractions. So anywhere out in those areas are going to be really good places to be. So why do people visit for the first place? Well, in 2023, Forbes rated it as one of the top places to travel at the time. It is the most visited state park in Ohio. So we even have a national state park, or a national park, and the Hocking Hills State Park still gets more visitors than what it does. So
Wow.
there's an estimated 5 million plus, and this number is climbing every year, that come to the area every single year, according to our tourism association. And so the state park, which is the main thing that everybody is coming for. There's lots of other parks, lots of other things that we'll get into here. But the big one is the Hocking Hills State Park. And so that's where it has like Old Man's Cave, Cedar Falls, and Ash Cave. And so a lot of times on Instagram, those are probably the ones that you're going to be seeing pop up. And all three of those are right there in the same location. Okay, so Hocking Hills is continually growing in popularity. It is a COVID spurred market, like many of these places were. But what it did was it just gained so much momentum that was already building. And so if you look back, it is among state parks, it is ranked as the number 6 most popular state park in the country.
Wow.
And so when you look at like the searches for Logan specifically within just the past 2 years, like they've increased by more than 70%. Of people that are getting on, looking up, searching the Hocking Hills, searching up the accounts, looking at all of the activities and all of the things that you can do. So it was already on fire a little bit, but COVID just threw gas on something that was already there.
Wow.
And so it just kind of accelerated already really strong numbers that were growing year over year.
That's amazing. I had no idea. I'm learning so much right now.
Yeah, so here's just some of the things. So the Hocking Hills State Park, like I said, that's the Mac Daddy that draws most people, but there's a ton of other things that people come here and get to experience while they're here. One of the fun things that many people may not know is that we actually have the John Glenn Astronomy Park. This was one of the only, it was like it come down to like 3 places in all of the country that was looked at to create an observatory, because it's one of the few places that you can go where there's no light pollution. And so, for people that want to come, stargazers, planets, all of that kind of stuff, the John Glenn Astronomy Park is right out by the Hocking Hills State Park. And so this draws a lot of people that come, stargazers. It's amazing to go there in the middle of the night, and you can go there and check things out. But there's all kind of other things. We have a Clear Creek Metro Park. This is where I do a lot of fly fishing. They stock it with trout. Conco's Hollow Nature Preserve, Hocking State Forest. There's several lakes. So Lake Logan is there. There's also a Lake Hope State Park right in the proximity, and you can rent pontoon boats, and you can rent kayaks, and you can paddleboard, and all of that kind of stuff. The Moonville Tunnel is super cool. You can actually do horseback riding and ride through the tunnel, which is super cool. And then we've got the Buckeye Trail. This is a 1,400-mile trail that goes through kind of all of Ohio, and 51 miles of it actually go through the Hocking Hills. And so there's people that kind of make that a goal to hit all of that. Tar Hollow is a big one. Rock House, the Rock Bridge State Nature Preserve. Rose Lake is out there. That's a great fishing spot as well. And then Whispering Cave here is mentioned. And I just wanted to say real quick about this. Whispering Cave was actually named the best hiking trail in the United States of America by US Today in 2024. And so this is all associated right there at the Hocking Hills State Park as well.
That's incredible. That's amazing. Let's real quick, let's pause and take a question from a past client of mine and a multi-time savvy client. Scott Gordon is asking, what do you see as the opportunity zone in Hocking Hills in terms of the bedroom, bathroom count, and the house size?
Yeah, I've got all of that at the end, but we can go ahead. So it really, you kind of either want to go big or go small. You don't want to get in the gray wasteland. And Scott, I'll show you some graphs that I have tagged on here at the end of the presentation that will kind of show you where your best bang for buck is. But I mean, really, the bigger that you can go, the less competition you're going to have. And there's just not many things like 4 bedrooms and up. So anything that you can find that is, maybe larger, there's a great opportunity there. Or the really unique things that do really well. So smaller and super unique, kind of the luxury, those are really doing well just because there's not as many of those. So the market for a long time has had kind of the mom and pop style, basic cabins with like bear blankets and that kind of stuff. And so it's had those for a long time. And so the thing that you could really look at is even going into some of those tired cabins. I see a lot of clients do this really well, and go in there. And if you can really bring it up with some design, like we have some connections through Savvy, that are just incredible of what they're able to do. If you could really trick these out, the ones that have been done that way very well with very nice furnishings, very updated, they're killing it. And so because this market has not been exposed to really that kind of dynamic design and upgrades, to be honest. And so there's a lot of opportunity there as well.
That's really cool. So bedroom count, is it better on the lower end or the higher end?
So I mean, bedroom count is better in terms of what you're going to get, for the rev part is going to be better, like 4 bedrooms and up. But I also see studios or 1 bedroom, if they're real unique and they've got real great amenities, I mean, they can almost catch up with, a 3 or 4 bedroom plain, cabin. They can outperform those just as well.
Yeah, some of the data I'm on AirDNA right now for like 2 bedrooms is really, really interesting. So maybe we'll have some time to dive into that if you guys
Yeah.
want to stick around for that. And like Scott, please feel free to drop any other questions that you guys have about the area as Eric continues leading us through Hocking Hills.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's Whispering Cave, and then here's just some other. I don't want to bog people down, but there's all kind of other activities, outdoor activities that are other than just hiking. So there's lots of other things that are available for people to do. There's disc golf, there's golfing, obviously all of the lakes, several lodges with um, places to eat at, and all of those kind of things. This was an article that was published by Realtor.com, which is just kind of another push of what has happened. You can see here from 2019 to 2023, the vacation rental demand in Hocking Hills, it climbed 254%. So it was actually the largest in the country that grew in terms of rental demand. And, COVID really helped, but social media has really helped too. People pushing it out and people discovering it for the first time. Most of the visitors that we have come to my places specifically, I would probably say 75% of them are first time visitors. And so it is still a very emerging market to people where they're discovering it for the first time.
Yeah, and you get people out there in some unique places. You get some Instagram influencers and
Yeah.
things. Yeah, they get set on fire. What does the housing industry look like over there? Is it easy to find a place? Is it hard to find a place? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's hard. And I'll show you why. Let me hop down here. This reason right here. So this is as of this morning. This is off of the MLS. Here's the constraint, and this is what's difficult for people, is because they want to be in the market, they want to look at it. As of this morning, within all of Hocking County, there are only 60 active listings. So that includes, your standard residential homes and also things that are listed that could be used as a short-term rental. And so this is really the hardest constraint of the area, is just the inventory. There there just really is very limited availability of what is even available for purchase. And so, I speak with some people where they may have an idea of what they want, but the reality is it just doesn't exist. And so a lot of times what I tell people, if they're calling and they have an idea, is like, well, maybe let's start by looking to see what's even on the market first, because we're not like the Smokies where you go to Zillow, and they have 15 pages
Yeah.
of cabins that you can look from. We can pretty much get it all on one page there. You can see what's available. And so, some people have kind of this real idea of the numbers that they want and the percentages that they're trying to hit and all of these things. And that's all great, but it very well could not exist in this market. And so if you really want to be in this market, what I recommend that we do first are we go and we look to see what's actually there. And then we can kind of strategize and look to see what the opportunities are.
Yeah, that's amazing. But this reminds me a little bit of Asheville because, you have this high barrier to entry, right? We have kind of the same thing. It's a highly residential market here. So, like
Yeah.
99% of everything you see on the MLS is really residential, might not make a great short term rental. And we have to kind of pick through, right? We're kind of always looking for the needle in the haystack. Here, it looks like it's a little bit different where there's not a haystack. There's a
Right.
few pieces of hay on the floor, and the needle may not be there.
Right.
But
Right.
that's what I love about markets with a high barrier to entry is it is nearly impossible to saturate a market like that. If
Right.
you can see that demand is on an upward swing, but there's nothing that's going to change the amount of inventory, then that means better appreciation, ADRs go up, all of that sort of stuff. Do you have anything in your? I don't want to spoil anything here, but do you have anything in here about like two-bedroom performance on AirDNA at all?
I do. Yeah. So let me.
Okay, cool. I won't spoil it. I'll let you go through with it then because I'm just really excited because I'm like, I always get ahead of everybody. And I'm like
No.
in AirDNA myself, like, oh, this is really interesting. And there's some really, really interesting numbers in there. So
Yeah.
I'll let
Yeah.
you yeah, keep going.
Okay, well, I'm building to it, Tyler. Just hold on. I'm
Okay.
getting there. I'm getting there. No, and so this was just in the Logan Daily yesterday. So this was a new development that's been announced. That's going to be taking place right by Lake Logan. They're projecting this is going to draw in potentially another million visitors annually. It's a $55 million development, which in Logan is just insane. Nothing like this has been done, and they're just really trying to bring in more commerce, more retail, more restaurants to accommodate the growing demand that people are coming. So we have a lot of the outdoor things. The things that are developing right now, from my perspective, is kind of the ecosystem to help the guests that are coming, other than just hiking, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're really now Logan is just in the process of getting more of the ecosystem to kind of help come around all of the tourism that we have, and so this is really exciting. This was just announced yesterday.
Yeah,
um
that's me. It says a fresh foods market and a
mhm,
restaurant. So the
yeah,
food is going to get elevated, which we know is really, really important nowadays.
yep,
You're going to get some office, some retail, so the additional jobs, places for maybe, local workers to live, which is probably very difficult for them in that area right now, which makes it difficult to come in and launch a restaurant if you have no one to work there.
yeah,
So all of these sort of infrastructure things are really, really going to help. And what I always tell people is I love to invest where other money's coming in because
right,
I get to benefit from this $55 million mixed use development, but I don't have to pay for it.
right.
Right. And so this is where I want to invest for sure.
Right. And just to kind of tag along on that, the Hocking Hills specifically, if you look at just the location within the area, the proximity of the drivability that it has to a lot of other big cities, it can be an easy overnight stay or a weekend stay is very easy. And here's one thing that I just wanted to share with everybody that they may not be looking at. This is all development that is happening in Columbus. Yeah, I know we're talking about the Hocking Hills, but I believe that this is affecting the Hocking Hills because this is within an hour's drive of you can be in downtown Columbus from the Hocking Hills within an hour. And if you just kind of look at all of these developments that have taken place, you can see the amount of investment that these tech companies are bringing into the Columbus kind of metro market. So, I feel like are kind of being benefited as the central part of Ohio is really turning into something different. And this is all things, that are going to be taking place here within the next few years. And so it's, Columbus, who would have ever thought it ranks 88th globally in the startup ecosystems of the tech hub, which who would have ever imagined. And so, there's all kind of cool things that are coming into the area that I believe are going to just continue to help grow the area. Okay.
Amazing. And
So,
people should, if they want to reach out to you real quick while we have them here,
yep.
what's the best place to reach out to you if they're like, okay, I don't even need to see the rest of the presentation. I'm ready to call Eric now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely reach out to me. Eric at savvy.realty. Feel free to email me. I can drop probably my phone number in the chat or something here. But click on my Facebook page, send me a message. I'm pretty easy to find. So just search me up and happy to help. It's an amazing market for people that are definitely looking as a long-term investment as well. I think that there's a lot of upside, even down the future with a lot of development that's taking place.
Cool. And real quick, let's take a couple questions because we've got some stacking up here. So
Okay.
Caleb Shore out of Charlotte is asking, or he's saying he went to Hocking Hills last year. Place was really cool. Did a ton of hiking. Awesome. That's good to hear, Caleb.
Yeah.
Rick Rodriguez is asking, are there any concerns with federal worker layoffs impacting demand in that area?
I mean, nothing that we don't really have any federal um, institutions, within the location of this area. So, I don't see it being an impact upon us. The benefit about our location is that even if there are layoffs, there are still a lot of options that are affordable. So if someone wants to take a vacation, maybe things are tight, they can still get in their car and they can drive, here, and they can still find reasonable accommodations at a good price. And a lot of things here are free. A lot of
I
the
think
hiking,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's a huge point right now, which is, we're potentially looking at a trade war, right? These are real things that are happening.
yeah,
So we're looking at potentially some like runaway inflation with some of these tariffs and things like that, federal worker layoffs and everything that's going on right now. And no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, right? I'm not talking, opinion or anything, but in times of turbulence, people do buckle down a little bit, and markets like Hocking Hills, especially when you're drivable to some of those major cities in the Northeast, like Pittsburgh and Cincinnati and Columbus and Louisville and Lexington, and all of these cities that you're surrounded by, where you can get to the Hocking Hills in an hour or two. And then you're not going to expensive theme parks. You're not getting on an
right.
expensive cruise or taking an expensive flight. You're going to the state park. What is the entrance fee at a state park like that?
It's free. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, there you go.
yeah,
No better vacation than free. So,
yeah.
okay. Jones Wilson asks, are there opportunities for tiny homes in the market?
There are, and we can get into some of the data on that. I think there's, you're really limiting who can come and stay at your property. Whenever you do the tiny home, they're super cool. There's some really cool ones out there right now, and they do really well. But you're competing against every other tiny home, when you do that. And so I would just be aware of that.
Serena Lentz, lastly, is asking what the projected completion of the Lake Logan project is.
So they're still in the process of getting tax credits. That's kind of where they're at. What I read in the article, I mean, they're looking within the next 2 to 3 years, is what I gathered.
Amazing. Cool. All right. Let's move on.
All right, let's hop back. Okay, so this is what the people came for. All right, so we'll give it to them. So when they came here, wanting to know why to come invest, here's some stuff that we pulled off of AirDNA, and we can even hop in. I think you're clicking around in AirDNA, so we can go through the nitty gritty on it. But this is just some understanding of what an overall picture looks like with the averages of what you can get within the Hocking Hills. So here's kind of the active listings. So, I mean, it's showing AirDNA is giving us this number of 1935. This is Airbnb VRBO. And so one thing to consider is that there also is hockinghills.com. That is a booking platform, a local booking platform that some people, that's all they're on. And so this isn't showing all of the data, but it is giving us an idea of what's out there. I really like Rabu's little chart here. They kind of show you the breakdown of how many listings are associated with bedroom count. So you can see, definitely your 1, 2, 3, that is where the majority of it is. And then once you get to 4 plus, the competition on those really go down, but it also is going to be a lot different price point. I really like this rental growth in the past few years. You can see back from March 2022 up until kind of the peak there. What I really find interesting is the end of the graph, where you can kind of see there's almost been a little bit of a reset. My opinion of what I've experienced are those are people that probably got in, post COVID and decided that this wasn't for them. And so I've seen a lot of properties, even within the city limits of Logan, they've kind of made it very difficult to continue if you were not permitted. I've seen a lot of those sell and just turn back into residential, or long-term rentals. And so I think that there's been a little bit of a reset from people that probably got in and probably decided that it wasn't for them, or
Mm.
didn't like the environment, it was more of a business than what they had hoped for or something. And so I think that there's some opportunity now too, because it has shrunk a little bit, as far as the active listings.
Yeah, it looks like it was over almost up to like 2,200 maybe,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
now it's down to 1,900, which I think is really interesting. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then here, occupancy rates, these are obviously averages, around 54% occupancy. It's a seasonal market. But it also still does have, because a lot of the activities are outside, if you have, it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but if you have kind of a nasty winter with a lot of snow and a lot of ice, you actually get people coming, because they want to go see the ice and all of the snow on the trails.
Amazing. Cool.
And then here's just kind of an overall look. You can kind of see what the daily rates are. I mean, you can see there's a real big difference once you get to the larger properties compared to, your smaller things. And you can see
Especially
that,
those 6 bedrooms. Look at
yeah,
that. Yeah,
that
1,200 bucks a night.
yeah, it really changes drastically. And there's just not many of them. And then here is kind of the last part, that we have, is the daily rate. So this is kind of, you can see the luxury compared to, your more mid scale, almost double what you can get, if you're able to bring in kind of like that design, or to really upgrade the furnishings and amenities. You can really set yourself apart in this market. It's really easy to stand out here. And I
Yeah.
think that's one thing that I just want to let everybody know, that if they're willing to make the investment and to kind of come in here fresh, it's really easy to stand out and to be the top. This is just another quick thing that, Rabu put together that I liked. I don't know necessarily all of the metrics that go into this, but I thought it was just kind of really interesting to see the difference of what listings that, have these amenities compared to those that don't. The revenue difference is just staggering on some of these. And so I'm
Yeah.
not sure all of it that comes into to determine these numbers, but, just kind of an interesting point there. It's really easy to stand out, I guess, is the point that I'm trying to make. With just trying to bring in some amenities, some design, you can really stand out in this market.
Yeah, I mean, you can put a sauna for a couple $1,000 and only 3.2% of listings actually even have them there. And it
Yeah.
looks like it's almost double the revenue with it than without it.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a
that's
very, very easy thing.
shocking. Yeah. That's
When I was at IMN speaking on a panel with Colin Carvey from Revity maybe it was a month and a half ago, he mentioned that it was like EV chargers. It was
yeah.
like a 15% bump, in revenue, by installing an EV charger. And literally, while I was in the panel, I was like searching on my phone, Amazon, and I was ordering EV chargers for every property I've got and
Right.
shipping them to every property I've got, and getting them installed, because it really is true. The more that you add, even it doesn't have to be crazy expensive, massive game rooms or anything like that. Even the small stuff makes a big difference. And you
Right.
can see even EV chargers, there only 7% of properties have them. Yet we know that this is a drive-in market, and I guarantee that nowadays EVs are probably more than 7% of the market. So
Well,
that's
yeah.
really interesting there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, those are just kind of, that's what I brought. Just kind of wanted to share with people, and then obviously here's the constraint, and this is what, I just tried to let everybody know, that this market is going to be more difficult to get in, just because it's an inventory issue. And here there is like there's no new development, for residential. The only new development that is happening, are really for people that are really wanting to get in and create them as investment properties. As far as like residential housing development, there's practically none. So it's going to keep everything tight.
That's amazing. Cool. If you don't mind, I wanted to share a couple quick things too on AirDNA, because I was
Yeah.
looking at these 6 bedrooms. Okay, cool. It popped in there. So the average 6 bedrooms making 178,000.
Yeah.
which is amazing out of 126 listings. So that's pretty good data right there. It looks like the numbers overall are fairly flat between -1% and +1%, which I actually kind of like,
Yeah.
because that you've got really, really good stability in 6 bedrooms happening right now. But even the average is making 178. So just imagine what the above average property is making as a
Right.
6 bedroom there. So that was really cool. But here is one thing that really blew me away. So we saw Rabu, and it said 2 bedrooms were the most popular. But look at this, there's still so much more runway. Annual revenue is up 19% for 2 bedrooms. Average daily rates are up 13%. Revenue per available rental is up 17%. Even occupancy is up over 3% for 2 bedrooms specifically. And that changes really significantly even when you just change it to 1 bedrooms. Still good, but not double digits.
Right.
And then if you change it to 3 bedrooms, still good, but not double digits. So like there is something happening there where 2 bedrooms are exploding to the tune of 200 or 300% more growth than any of the other bedroom counts, where 6 bedrooms are relatively flat and stable. 2 bedrooms are just totally exploding, to huge levels. Plus almost 20% in annual revenue for the average listing. So just imagine what you can get there. And look at this, like you said the average market was growing by plus 15%. So this is growing less. It's only growing by 11%. And it's the only segment where annual revenue, average daily rates, and RevPAR are actually outpacing the number of new listings. It's really
Right.
the only bedroom segment that's happening. So anyways, I was like popping around on Airbnb. I love to
Yeah.
play with the filters and see where's the little honey hole here, and kind of caught that. And I was like, wow, this is really, really interesting. But there's almost no data that you're going to find anywhere in AirDNA that's negative for Hocking Hills, Ohio.
Right.
So I think one thing we didn't talk about was, what does pricing look like for the area? What can you get? What does a 2 bedroom cost? What does a 6 bedroom cost?
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as what's on the market, kind of right now, anything that's like a 6 bedroom, 1.2, 1.4 is kind of what's out there right now. Things that are large enough to really accommodate that kind of property. As far as like a 2 bedroom, it really just depends on if it's already been established as a short term rental or not. It kind of does affect. I mean, you can probably realistically, for around 400,000, probably get into this market at a 2 bedroom. Something that is going to be have the appeal, or at least have the options to develop to into something that is going to be able to stand out and to be able to be have the potential for those kind of numbers of what we're seeing.
Amazing. That's really cool. Okay, what should we end on here?
I mean, I would just end on, just understanding that the Hocking Hills is more of a long-term play. And if you're going to get into this market, you may have to be patient if you want to, because there is limited inventory. And then what I try to tell people is that if there is something that does get listed, you've got to be ready to move on it. Because if it's a good property, because there is such constrained inventory, you've got to be ready to take action. And so what I try to tell people, is that if you actually want to do this, and if you actually want to buy a short-term rental in the Hocking Hills, you've got to be ready, and you got to be ready to pull the trigger on it when it happens. Because if it's a good property, good location, and all has all the things, someone's going to buy it. And if you're not ready, it's not going to be you. And so you've got to be willing to actually pull the trigger, write the offer, and move on it. Because surprisingly, even though things have slowed down a lot, good short-term rental properties, they're still moving. And so there's still people that are playing the long game here, that are still wanting to be in this market, that are still looking at the projections, that are still looking at it as emerging. And so I don't consider it saturated in the least. It may have some saturation in like some bad properties, but as far as good properties that are unique, that are higher end, that yeah, you can stand out really easy here in those circumstances.
Amazing. Awesome. Okay. Well, if you want to get a hold of Eric, www.savvy.realty/Eric, you can get on his calendar right now, today, get on a call with him, talk about Hocking Hills. I think it's really interesting for any investor, that's looking, if you're okay with waiting and being patient and you're not looking for something right now is the time to talk to Eric and get on the list, because if something may come along in spring and summer and fall, that's a really amazing opportunity. And by the time you finally get on his calendar at that point, it's going to be impossible to actually get in and get that property. So one, make sure you're pre-approved. Two, get on the phone with Eric today. And three, just be looking for those short-term rentals every day. And remember, if you're looking for any other markets, we can always help you with that here at Savvy. Today, we're in over 20 markets with 35 agents. And if you're thinking about selling your Airbnb this year, give us a call. I think it's really interesting to take a look at your equity. I have a good example right now. I put up a listing the other day, Eric, and the revenue is really, really good. And for the last couple of years, people have been kind of going like, nobody's selling a listing that has really great revenue. There's really not a reason why. Right. Especially because most of this activity kind of started 2020, 2021. That means there wasn't a ton of equity. There have been some value add plays and some forced appreciation and things like that, but we haven't had time to build regular appreciation activity until right now. And I'm getting texts from my clients that bought in 2021 and 2022, and they're saying, hey, what's my place worth? And so I think it's really interesting to always analyze what sort of equity you have in your property and what sort of appreciation has actually happened, because you may have more than you think. And even if your revenue is really good for your property, if you can do 2 second home loans and you can double your net potentially with the equity that you have stuck in one property, doing a cash out refi may not be a good option. Doing a HELOC may not be a good option. Give us a call. We'll do an equity analysis with you and help you figure out if listing your property this year is a good idea or not. Cool. Thank you, guys. Good to see you, Eric. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate it.